Sure, should be fine. All right.
So I think we can get started if you like.
Okay, correct. So yeah, thank you for all your time to meeting us, and I will now share my screen and go over the report. I think you already have the report, but one more time we will go over all the recommendations one by one, and we will try to answer your questions if you have, and yeah, so it will be basically the purpose of this meeting. So I will just skip the introduction parts. I think most of us know each other. I have some new faces here, but yeah, I think it's fine. I will just introduce myself as I'm Behlül. I'm the PhD student here at MSU. So I was the student lead for this assessment. And so that's why I will present our report to you. So I can share my screen. Right, so our report is starting with an executive summary. So there's a table that you can see all the recommendations we identified, and you can see that some of them has very like small amount of savings, but also the installation costs are very small, and I think the installations are very easy for most of them. But also there are some other recommendations which has a high savings, but with high installation cost also. But as you can see, all these recommendations have payback period of lower than 5 years. So it was the one of the limitations for our recommendations. It must be lower than 5 years. And also we have 4 to 5 additional recommendations. I will also mention about them. We couldn't include them in the recommendation section because we can't add them if they are higher than 5 years as a payback period, and some of them we couldn't able to calculate because we don't have enough information during the assessment. So here's the brief summaries for each, but I will just skip here because we will give more detailed information about them. So these first sections includes the facility descriptions and some major energy consuming equipment. So because you already know this all, I will not go over this information, but just want to mention that these assessment reports should be only like include one facility. So that's why we couldn't just separate the buildings inside the report. So we have some recommendations specifically for each public safety building or municipal building, but you will see, especially for the utility analysis, all the numbers are combined. And there's also the major energy consuming equipment list for both buildings and just the brief information about them. Also, this section includes the best practices we observed during the assessment. So I can start with the renewable energy, I think, because we have solar panels for both buildings, and it's a very good way to save energy and reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. And also for the lightings, you mostly replaced your lights to LED, and also you have occupancy sensor for most of the locations. It's a very good thing also. And we also noticed you have VFDs on your HVAC equipment. And also you have very good building automation system that you can do basically whatever you want, actually. So so it's a very good thing to reduce your energy consumption because you can program it according to your needs. So we have also some recommendations about it. And in the utility analysis, as I mentioned, these numbers are combined from both buildings. So it shows the total number here. And also, because we have solar energy, we included the solar consumption to see the total consumption of the electricity consumption. I can say that as a natural gas, so your energy cost is 60% of from natural gas and the remaining is from the electricity. And this section includes details about the cost and the usage for each month. So I will just skip this part and I want to show you the graphs. That's important. But here, maybe you can notice because of your solar consumption, this number could be higher, but we used for the unit costs, only the energy consumption without the solar. And here, because you also have the demand charge, 35% of the utility bills coming from this demand cost, and the majority of it from the energy cost, and you also have some other charges. And maybe I can go here. So this shows the total energy usage, electricity usage with the cooling degree days. So this graph shows us if you're using the electricity mostly for cooling purposes. But even though there are some peaks in the summer term, because we are using you are using your cooling equipment more in the months, but you have like 40,000 kilowatt hour of constant electricity usage for each month. So we can't say that you are using the electricity mostly for cooling purposes. But yeah, it also has effect on during the summer terms. Similarly, for the natural gas usage, we have all the information in detail. Here it shows the blended rate and the total cost. Maybe you can notice that there's a missing part for the blending rate, because during the summer term, the natural gas usage is very minimum and there are some fixed charges. That's why this blended rate could be higher than the normal. So that's why we didn't include this here, to not give a wrong impression about the blended rate. But similar to the cooling degree days, we have also some graphs for heating degree days and the natural gas usage. So here you can see that these usage and the heating degree days trends follow the same pattern. So it shows that you are using natural gas mostly for heating purposes, but there's some minimal natural gas usage also during the summer, and I assume that it's for the domestic water heaters. And you can also see the emission rates here for both building, and there are some details of it. Or maybe I can show this part is more important than the emissions rates. So it shows the EUI comparison. Again, this includes both buildings. So I can say that when we look at the average for the Midwest region, your EUI value is higher than the average, but we used here as a office building. So your building is not office building actually, because it's also include the public safety building. So it does not reflect the same the average of the same building purposes. But as a comparison, I can say that it is higher than the average of Midwest region. Okay, so as a next part, I will mention about our recommendations. But if you have any questions up to here, I can try to answer them. Okay, so then I will continue with our recommendations. The first one is if they using the optimum temperature. I think Juliana is here, so she worked on this recommendation. Do you want to talk about it, Juliana?
Sure. Yeah, so for this one of the things we noticed in the facility when walking through is that typically, like in the winter, you guys have the temperature set point higher because you like it warmer, and in the summer you have the temperature set point lower because people like it cooler. But just from like an energy side of things, you can save a lot of energy by kind of flipping how you have your set points. And so for this recommendation, we recommend that you keep it about 75 in the summer, a little warmer, so your cooling isn't working as hard. And in the winter, having your set points at about 70 degrees, keeping it cooler in the building so you're not spending as much on heating.
And you will see the detailed calculations for each recommendation here. So we will not go over these calculations, but if you want to know about them, so we can just talk about it. But as a summary, yeah, we will not give details about the calculations most of the time. we'll try to focus on the important things. What is the recommendation and why we are recommending this thing? So the next one is reducing the lighting levels. So I think Juliana.
Yeah, I wrote this one as well. Also on the assessment, there were a few places where we noticed that the lighting level seemed a little bright. And so we go based off of IES appropriate lighting levels, which is about 30-foot candles for office settings. And there were several areas where the foot candles were around like 60, 65, which is pretty bright. So this recommendation is to go into these areas and reduce the lighting by about half. We had noted that your fixtures had about 4 bulbs per fixture. And so the majority of this recommendation is in those areas where we noted it was bright to remove 2 of those bulbs per ballast to reduce the lighting. And this will help save you on energy costs.
Yeah, and also in the table, you can see which locations these are. And you can by just simply removing 2 bulbs from each fixture. You can get that levels and yeah. So the other one. And here is the recommendation about the scheduling the HVAC according to your operational hours.
Yeah, I wrote this one as well. Have all mine in a row. So for this one, we noticed in the public safety building that both of the floors had like constant 24/7 heating, cooling, and ventilation to it, even though it's only really the first floor that is in use that time. The second floor is only like your typical business day hours. And so this recommendation is for going into that building automation system and getting the HVAC to be on a schedule to follow the operational hours. So you aren't providing that heating, cooling, and ventilation to the second floor of the public safety building when no one's there really. And so that will help save on both heating and cooling costs.
Yeah. And I think the implementation of this one was very easy by just using your building automation system. You can easily program it.
Yeah, and we had included for some labor costs in that if you needed to contact the company to have maybe someone from there come out and help you set that up if you weren't sure how to do it yourself.
And so the other one is about the using demand control ventilation for rarely used areas, because we noticed that you have 2 large area in the municipal building and the training room in the public safety building are rarely used. So, but all these temperature set points are there and it's working according to that. But we are recommending you to just install some CO2 sensors, which will identify if there are some people inside. And according to that, your studio room and the town hall in the municipal building and the training room in the public safety building will be heated or cooled. So because you have some VAV boxes for each area and rooftop unit for the town hall, so you can easily program it by using your building automation system. You just need to install some carbon dioxide sensors for that one, and these sensors need to be connected to thermostat and also need to be programmed actually. So these installation costs include these things. And for here, we just made some assumptions according to our discussions. So we assumed that the usage frequency of that rooms, and we calculated how much energy is consumed normally and what is the proposed consumption, and we found the differences to find the savings. And also we use the airflow rates from the mechanical drawings, because in the mechanical drawings you have the airflow rate of the diffusers. We use that one and we use 50% of reduction for that. So yeah, this includes everything here. And the payback period is less than 1 year for that one. So The other one is insulating pipes, and here is the cost saving is very minimal, actually around $20, but the installation cost is very small. But there's about the hot water pipes in the municipal building area. I think it was in the boiler room. So we just recommending you to install insulation around that pipes so that you can save that money. But yeah, as I said, it's very minimal. And the next thing is the fixing the roof insulation in the penthouse area. So this is I think we didn't, but yeah, this is on the municipal building. So in the roof side, there are some missing areas. I think because of the installation of some equipment, you said you removed them, or the maintenance team removed it to be able to install these vents. But there are some parts that missing insulation, roof insulation. So we are just recommending you to fix them or add insulation for that missing parts. So the savings are around $40 per year. But again, the installation is also very easy for that one. Yeah, so this one is also using occupancy sensor for HVAC system in the municipal building. So we know that you already have lighting sensors in some areas, and you can use it lighting sensors for the HVAC system. Sorry, for the lighting sensors, I mean occupancy sensors for lights. So you can connect these sensors to your HVAC system, and by programming this from the building automation system, you can just program your HVAC system according to occupancy. So we assume that here your systems are working 24/7 in occupied mode, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. We saw that on your building automation system, and we use that numbers. And we assume that some of the area, like the usage of that occupancy of that areas, and with that assumption, we found the savings. So it will be around $2,000, and the implementation cost is here around $4,500. It's because of the connections. So you need to connect the sensors to the HVAC system, and also we need some labor cost for that one.
Is that a popular strategy at MSU?
Yeah, I think I can give you an example from our office area. So we have 2 occupancy sensors here, and when there's no one, the system, there are some setbacks for the non-occupant time and the occupancy times. So it just used the non-occupant setbacks, and when someone entered the area, it just all the systems start working and provide air. So I'm not sure that for the all MSU buildings, but I know some space with that occupancy sensors. Maybe Ryan can give one.
Yeah, it's pretty well standard for new construction, and anywhere really where we have VAV boxes at, some retrofit opportunities. We go back through campus. If VAVs have been in for 20, 30 years, we might not have had sensors back then, but putting them in now is pretty common, and connecting them to the HVAC system. So, something we do, and so we'll shut off or significantly reduce airflow as well as temperature setbacks as well in those areas.
What have you guys found in your draftier buildings or the buildings that don't have interior insulation? So, if we have VAVs and one office, let's say the staff person in that office is out all week, it'll trigger for that office. But what have you seen for the entire facility in terms of savings when there's a thermostat in the office next door and there's no thermal break?
So you're concerned about the room getting too cold or too warm?
No, it's just that if one office if you have the VAVs installed and one office is unoccupied all week.
Oh,
So
yeah,
it triggers, less air circulation in there, whether it's heating or cooling, depending on the time of year. But that office next door that, let's say we're in a heating cycle and we're heating the building in the winter, that warm air is gonna bleed over from the office next door because we don't have any insulation in our interior walls. So, I mean, I'm just wondering how impactful can the VAV be in a facility where you don't have that internal interior insulation?
yeah, we still do that. We don't really insulate our internal walls either, but there's still savings there when I get that there's going to be, anytime we have a delta T across the wall, there's going to be heat transfer. But yeah, I don't know if we've really studied that, but I think the way we look at it is, we're still saving some energy by, reducing the amount of air volume going into that room. So, and then, in return, the fan speed backs down. So not only are you saving on, a little bit of thermal, granted some thermal's transferring, but you're also saving electrical fan energy because you're not dumping, moving that air.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
And if you have one box that serves multiple rooms, which I think you guys do, which is pretty common for us on campus as well, you got to have a occupancy sensor in every single room that box serves. And if any room is occupied, then all the rooms become occupied based on, for that VAV box. So
yeah,
that becomes a little bit of an issue. And that's really, we've been trying to change the standard on campus, us energy people, to put a VAV box in every room. So if, in some cases there's 3 rooms that are served by a VAV box and only one person's using or in a room, then, essentially you're ventilating 2 other rooms that are unoccupied, which is, necessary when you have one box that serves multiple rooms.
All right. So next recommendation about exit signs. So it is very similar to replacing LED lights actually. So we counted your exit signs. There were 33 exit signs for including both buildings. So we are just recommending you to replace them with the LED ones. So the payback period is nearly 5 years for that one. But again, you can save around $400 each year for that. Okay. And there's one, I think the only location without occupancy sensors in general, it's the bathrooms in the 2nd floor of the municipal building. So you can just simply install occupancy sensors for these areas and you can save around $50. But here we just made some assumptions how many hours these bathrooms will be used. So it's according to that times. Well, we just assume 60 employees will use 5 minutes, like etc. So it could be higher than this also, but it depends on the usage frequency of that bathrooms. And yeah, this one is also about lightings. I think Juliana will give more information about it.
Yeah, I helped write this one. So for this one, we noticed on the 2nd floor of the municipal building, both kind of to like the left and the right, there were areas of like offices and like cubicles that were by windows. And so this recommendation is to put the lights in those areas by the windows specifically on their own switch so that you can use the daylight instead of use both daylight and the lighting. And so it'll help save on lighting costs then.
Yeah. So this one is the just replacing all the lights to LED, and we just count the fixtures all around the facilities, and we try to identify non-LED bulbs. So this is the list of this is the number of the total non-LED bulbs, I think here maybe we can miss some of them, or maybe we can just count as a non-LED bulb, because we won't be able to see inside of the fixtures. But yeah, these numbers coming from the assumptions, so that you can say around $1,500. But the installation cost will be $5,000. But there are also some rebates or incentives for that, replacing the LED bulbs. Yeah, so these are the all main recommendations we included in the report. So, but we also have some additional ones. As I'm saying, these are because of the higher payback periods, and also like we couldn't collect more data to calculate this. One is the upgrading the refrigerator. In the municipal building, there was some kitchen, and inside there was a refrigerator, old refrigerator. So yeah, I mean, you can just upgrade it with the Energy Star one. But when we calculated, the payback period is almost 7 years. That is just information when you need to change the refrigerator. You can remind it. And also the windows, because yeah, first floor of the municipal building windows are already upgraded or replaced, but the second floors has the old windows. Again, we try to calculate this, how much savings you could get if you replace them. Well, it's like around 33 years, because we have many windows. And yeah, in terms of energy saving, so it will be too much. It's a payback period, it's around 30 years. And also the other thing, the charging the devices at night times, it's big from the public safety building, because there's a arsenal room which has all the radios, flashlights, and the other equipment that the police using. So we couldn't get information how much electricity it's using while charging, or the information of the equipment. But yeah, there could be some opportunity to charge them at night times, like at night times, to not increase the demand cost, because both buildings has the demand charts. If you charge them all at the same time, it could increase the demand, and your demand cost is also around $17, I think, per kilowatt. So yeah, so we couldn't collect data for that one, but you can just consider this. And also the other things about the baseboard heaters in the public safety building again. So because we couldn't get the information how this baseboard heaters are controlled, we couldn't find anything, but definitely there could be some opportunities, because the rooms has both baseboard heaters, and also your air handling unit serves same area. And I think these are both connected to one thermostat. And yeah, so there could be some issues about it, and you can just lose energy, because both systems are working at the same time most of the time, most probably. But again, we couldn't get any information about this. And lastly, the installing solar panels, because both buildings has the solar panels now, but you can just add more panels and you can increase your capacity. So here it will be around 10 years with the IRI benefits, but without any rebates or incentives. I think the payback period will be around 20 years for both buildings, if you want to increase them to 150 kilowatt and 120 kilowatt. But yeah, so you already have the solar panels, and so you know how it is working, and you have the experience. So if you want to increase your capacity, these are the numbers, and I think we included the calculations as an attachment, so you can see them also, the rough estimations. Yeah, so these are all the recommendations, and you can find at the last section of the reports, there are some additional resources that can be used to get some incentive rebates, also some information about the energy savings. We also have cybersecurity section. So as an IAC, we provide some cybersecurity resources. If you are interested, you can always contact us, so we can try to help you. Yeah, and that's all, I think. But if you have any questions about the recommendations, we can try to give more information about them.
What questions do
Yeah.
people have or observations? Anyone else say? So I can say that in general, because you have very good building automation system, there's a very good opportunity so that you can just program your HVAC system and you can save lots of money by just simply changing numbers in that system. I can say that. And also, I think we rarely see solar panels. So with the renewable energy, so you already have that for both buildings. It's also a very good thing. And yeah, but in general, we can it's a like both buildings. We have most information about the municipal building, but I can say that this has both maintenance or operate um, in an efficient way, and you have also systems ready, so you can easily adjust them, you can easily program them. It's a very good thing because most of the time when we go to assessment, we see old HVAC systems. I'm focusing on the HVAC system because in the commercial building, it's the most energy consuming system here. And so because you have that automation system, I think you have the opportunity to save money and energy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Say,
more of
ahead.
an internal conversation we need to have, because the administration from the top down has to kind of support us in changing some of our controls. Because right now the decision has always been to let employees set their thermostat, and we've got people that set their thermostat at 64 right now. So it's a HR problem more than it is a control problem. We've got the controls. Rob and I were just going through our system and looking at some of the controls, but certainly is worth the conversation internally to take a look at some of this. So did you guys put a specific number on, like, if we actually did set I think the two numbers for the summer months was 72, and I think for the winter months 70 degrees. Like, did you guys calculate what you think our savings would roughly be for either or both buildings all in one for those degree points? Like, if we did that as a policy? Because that'd be the first question I would get from all the people that like controlling their thermostat.
It was the first recommendation, Bill. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And so, yeah, here is just use a rough estimation according to the Department of Energy. And for every degree change in thermostat, it's around 1% of HVAC energy is saved. So I think you can use that rough estimation. So, well, we here calculated this according to, we said 70 degrees during the winter and 75 in the summer. But yeah, you can just change this, like, your needs, and you can just use that 1% of saving for each degree.
Abby's office right now would be 9% roughly savings, and other offices would be 5% savings. And
So those are additive. So if you flipped it, would that be a 10% savings?
Yeah. Could be. And also you can also try this, for example, during 1 month. Let's just, if it is possible, you can try to change the set points and you can see it directly on your bills actually.
Yeah, we wish it were that easy.
This, obviously, MSU, does MSU have a policy on this or a particular way that we educate employees about set points and that type of thing?
Yeah, we've tried, and we kind of run into the same issue. So it depends on the building. Sometimes we lock the thermostats out where, you know, we end up heating to 70, cooling to 75. But a lot of times we just give control between 70 and 75 and that's it. So that's their range essentially. Now that's campus standard, is that we need to have the buildings at least to 70 in the winter months and at least cool down to 75 in the summer months. So and usually we give, you know, that range in between is up to, you know, whoever's room it is. So we also, in some areas, we can't do that. Like over at our football building, in some areas, we actually have limited cooling capacity. And so if the first 10 offices put their thermostats down to 70, the offices at far end of the building actually will overheat because they're taking all the cooling. So we end up having to like lock those ones out and say everybody gets 75 because the people at the end would be like 80 or 85 degrees. So we run into all kinds of situations where we have to do different things, but for the most part, we give the users operator range between 70 and 75 and lock them out virtually. You know, physically they can change the set point dial to whatever they want in their office, but we lock them out virtually through the software.
Yeah. One time.
This is my office or?
Yeah, this is your office. Between yours and Giannis's. And so this tells me template.
Yeah.
And I can give, you know, if you guys are interested, I can give, you know, some sequences, how we typically stage hot water, perimeter heat versus like your reheat system and the duct work. We've come up with some pretty good strategies on how to do that most efficiently to, you know, reduce the amount of air volume coming out of diffusers and making sure it's comfortable. You know, and there's some other enhanced control strategies that aren't included in here. You know, it might take a few more devices and some programming. But so there's other ways to save, I guess. Might be difficult to calculate, might be over 5 years, but you know, if those are items that won't necessarily impact occupant comfort, it's really just recontrolling how you're doing the production of the HVAC at the air handler.
I think that, I don't know if that would be useful, Rob. But sounds intriguing. I appreciate the generous offer.
Any questions?
You mentioned cybersecurity early on as a potential consulting issue. If we wanted to explore, or can you give a rough, like an elevator speech for what has been most popular, or what are some of the issues or opportunities that program might offer, if it is something that we should consider?
I think
Yeah.
Juliana could give. Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually lead this here at Michigan State. This is kind of my specialty. Well, for the IAC. So we do like a self-evaluation survey that we send out to people. And we ask them kind of like, are your employees trained? Things like password and username updating or two-factor authentication, just kind of like really high level cybersecurity stuff that often normally like smaller businesses miss, but we still send it out to everybody in case there are other things that they've missed as well. And so with this, we give you the survey, and we also work with a cybersecurity professor separately to help go through then the answers in that survey. And then we make like cybersecurity specific recommendations if that's something you're interested in. And if you were to fill out that, we could provide you a separate report based on that information. And it's really important. I think a lot of times people get intimidated when we're like, oh, cybersecurity. But the biggest thing is like, we're not looking into any of your private or confidential data, employee data, none of that. It's all like high level, like, are your systems routinely cleaned or checked? Like, do you have malware protection, really high level stuff that your IT department should be able to answer. And even if like they don't want to fill it out and send it to us, it'd still be good for them to look through it just to do like a personal check on their end. And so that they can look through it and know, okay, we are doing correct and good things.
Thank you.
Do
I
you
don't
have
know.
any questions?
I know our IT is pretty overworked and probably on top of most of this, but it wouldn't hurt to share the checklist if that's something that's easy to do. To if you agree, Dan.
Yeah, you can send it to us. I'm pretty sure everything on that high level of and we have two-factor authentication. We have brand new firewalls that are, I believe we just completed the install. We do 24-hour backup cycles. We're going through an IT overhaul right now. So you could send the checklist over to Leroy. I'm pretty certain our IT department will say yes to those. Our biggest issue that we've been working on is training our employees on phishing and being vigilant and knowledgeable in identifying phishing emails. So
Yeah, that's a really big risk.
no matter what
a lot of
controls
the
you have
time.
in place, if someone hands over their login credentials, there is no way to prevent that.
Yeah, I can definitely send an email back out to Leroy. We have, since your assessment, we've kind of updated our process and what our form looks like. We also have, it's like a 9 or 10 page of information about cybersecurity and kind of like new federal regulations, because one of the things with this new infrastructure bill that was passed is there's a whole bunch of new regulations too that companies should be aware of. So I can definitely send that information out for you guys to send to IT.
So I called Janet Lilly, who's with the Government Relations Department there at MSU, and just asked her, and she wasn't aware of any firm that you guys are working with. What does MSU do as a university for training for the end user, the students and faculty who have email accounts at MSU?
That's a really good question. So the IT department at Michigan State is constantly sending out emails across like the entire email platform. And they send out things like, I know one time we did get like this big phishing email that went through, and within like an hour they sent back information from like the IT department that, hey, this was a scam. Like if you did log in and you lost information, contact us, we'll help recover that data, things like that. And another thing with MSU is they're very big on the two, like authentication, the two forms. And so for all of like email and for logging into classes or logging into any of like our personal information for like billing and account stuff like that, it's always the two-factor, which really is one of like the key things to prevent hacking.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for all the time that you guys put into this. Let us dig into it a little bit more, and it'll certainly spark some internal conversations about what we can and can't do versus what we will and won't do. So it's going to come down to personal preference versus, the lighting one is one that's well timed. And that's something that we had kind of identified. We're getting quotes right now to prospectively look at putting new ceilings and new light fixtures in the municipal building. And we have staff that have actually complained about the brightness with upgrading to LED bulbs and having that many bulbs in a small office. So some offices we've actually removed 50% of the bulbs already because of the employee preference. So thank you for all the work that went into this, and the lighting is certainly one that we will take a close look at, and the temp control ones will certainly spark some discussion. It's always tough when everybody wants to have their hand on the thermostat.
Mhm. Sure. And yeah, and thank you for the opportunity. By the way, it was a very good assessment for us also. And we are here also for the help if you want to implement any of this or if you need more information. So we are just not here give you the report and it's done. So we are also here to help you. So anytime you can reach out to us, so you can ask your questions about the calculations and also implementation things. We are here to help you all this process. And also we will follow up with you in 6 to 9 months to ask so about these recommendations, how many of them you implement, how many of these you didn't, or to get some feedback from you. And but yeah, but until that time, you can also reach out us. You can ask any questions you wanna about it.
Wanted to mention too, you mentioned for doing a bunch of lighting, we provided some information in our report, but through your electricity company, you can get a lot of rebates for upgrading to LED, changing the ballast, for the exit signs as well. So make sure you just don't forget about that because it's money you can get back to help reduce the payback period.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Did you notice the demand charge savings? Like if we moved away from a demand charge that we could achieve some additional savings?
I think as an electricity rate, your rate is the best one for now.
Okay,
So in your systems also it was that, so it was showing that it's the best rate for now. But I mean, to try to reduce demand charges, I think just reducing the HVAC load will definitely have an effect on it because it's the major energy consuming one. And we don't know how much affects the charging equipment in the public safety building. So I can't say anything if it has a huge effect on it. But yeah, and also if you have more solar panels, renewable energy, it will also reduce your demand charge during the daytime because your peak demands occurs during the daytimes.
thank you so much. Any
Thank
other
you.
questions people had? Or observations?
Not at this time.
Thank you for your stellar team here, and we really
Thank
appreciate the
you.
opportunity to stay connected and look
Sure.
and keep up on where we can move forward.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for your time and opportunity. And so see you then.
Okay.
Bye. Have a great day, everyone.
Yeah.